The world of commercial aviation has been shaken to its core following the publication of the final accident report of the Brazilian airline VoePass ATR-72 in Sao Paulo on August 9, 2024, causing the death of 58 passengers and 4 crew members. The sheer level of negligence, complacency, safety violations, and a hair-raising safety record led to a tragedy that, had the systems worked, will never have happened. Let's look at what unfolded. On August 9, 2024, an ATR-72-500 registration Papa Sierra Victor Papa Bravo, equipped with 2 Pratt & Whitney engines, took off from Coronel Adalberto Mendes da Silva Airport in Cascavel, Paraná State, bound for Sao Paulo's Guarulhos International Airport. On board were 58 passengers and 4 crew members. In command was 35-year-old Captain Danilo Santos Romano with over 5,200 flight hours, but just over a year since his upgrade to captain and only 665 hours in turboprop aircraft. The first officer was 60-year-old Humberto Alencar Silva, bringing over 3,500 hours of exclusive experience in ATR family. Both complied with regulations and medical licenses. The aircraft was dispatched with more than 10 inoperative items according to its minimum equipment list. This being a normal condition, provided the aircraft is permitted to operate, it can depart with inoperative equipment. Among the items that were inoperative were the pack number 1, air conditioning and pressurization system, the first officer windshield wiper, and crucially, the maintenance data report revealed that on the 3 previous flights, the pneumatic wind de-icing boots had presented intermittent failures that were not recorded in the technical logbook. This grave situation is the first indicator of the magnitude of the tragedy that is about to happen. By not being registered in the maintenance logbook, it is an item that, legally, does not limit the departure, but does limit the aircraft performance and is a major safety violation. The pneumatic de-icing boots are a system installed on ATR models that function like balloons inflating on the leading edge of the wings, and upon inflating, they break the layer of ice forming there, keeping the surfaces free from freezing. This critical system was experiencing failures that were not formally reported. To make matters worse, the atmosphere was unforgiving that day. Brazil was engulfed in an intense frontal system driven by a low-pressure center in the Atlantic Ocean and a high-level jet stream, creating a massive layer of instability. Satellites detected extreme cold cloud tops, oscillating between -35 and -45 degrees Celsius. Meteorological authorities had issued explicit message for the Curitiba and Brasilia flight information regions. The warning was unequivocal: severe ice formation between flight levels 120 and 210. Yet the aircraft was dispatched with an inoperative pack, a recurring failure in the anti-ice system, and a flight path directly into a zone of severe icing. A perfect recipe for a massive disaster. At 15:15 UTC, the first master caution alarm sound. The captain comments that the structural de-icing system has failed and it's inoperative. The first officer, demonstrating temporary situational awareness, indicates that the failure is not logged in the technical logbook and suggests flying at 11,000 feet to avoid knowing icing conditions. However, minutes later, the first officer contacts Curitiba Control and accepts a climb to flight level 170, a decision that sealed the flight's fate. During the next hour, the cockpit becomes a stage for constant crew resource management (CRM) violations. The pilots engage in long personal and informal conversations, diluting their focus. Constant master cautions alerts sound and are routinely cancelled. At 16:11 UTC, following another alarm, the first officer confessed to having forgotten to turn on the de-icing system. The captain claims he already turned it on. despite knowing it was broken. This is a textbook case of unintentional blindness, where the crew, due to distractions and overload, stopped processing the severity of the visual and auditory alerts from their own panel. At 16:20 UTC, the first officer remarks there's a lot of ice and indicates that he's going to turn on the system. The captain reminds him it's off, meaning it doesn't work. At this point, the aircraft was already an aerodynamic brick. The aircraft performance monitoring system was registering a massive increase in drag. The speed decayed drastically, dangerously approaching the ice stall indicator. At 16:21 and 8 seconds, the inevitable happens. The stall alarm activates. A deafening cricket sound. The autopilot disconnects. The stall protection system intervenes. The stick shaker vibrates the control columns, and the stick pusher automatically forces the nose down to prevent the collapse of lift. But the pilots fall victim to the startle effect, a neurological panic response that inhibits rational processing. The aircraft enters a deep stall, develops an uncontrollable flat spin, rotating on its vertical axis without lift until it impacts the ground at 16:22. As investigators, we know that accidents are never exclusively the fault of the last link in the chain. James Reason's Swiss cheese model forces us to look at the organizational structure, and the findings here are devastating. VoePass was suffering from a severe systemic phenomenon, the normalization of deviance. Inspections by Brazil's National Civil Aviation Agency between 2022 and 2024 reveal an alarming history of maintenance weakness. Mechanics working without manuals, lack of supervision and tools at secondary bases, and most critically, irregular technical dispatches. When an item fails, if its dispatch is permitted according to the minimum equipment list, it has a maximum time limit to perform the repair or replacement of the component. The investigation discovered that when the repair time limit for a component was about to expire for critical systems like de-icing, operational tests were conducted on the ground that reset the regulatory clock, allowing the plane to keep flying with a latent failure. In fact, on the flight prior to the accident, the first officer angle of attack proof heating system failed 16 times. No one wrote it down in the technical logbook. This indicates an incredible level of complacency on the parts of the crews. In aviation, this phenomenon is known as a word-of-mouth report, simply informing maintenance personnel of the failure verbally without leaving a record to prevent the aircraft from being grounded. A macabre practice that unfortunately, and as this accident proves, continues to happen. The regulatory authority documented aircraft in the fleet flying with torn pneumatic boots or with repairs that violate the manufacturer's manuals. To top it off, although VoePass possessed a safety management system SMS and collected data from the Flight Data Monitoring FDM program, the data was simply stored on servers. No proactive train analysis was performed to prevent tragedies. Their SMS maturity index was rated below the industry standard. There was widespread corporate complacency, motivated by commercial pressure and a lack of spare aircraft. Alarms ceased to be warnings and became more background noise. The Brazilian Aeronautical Authority suspended VoePass Air Operator Certificate in 2025, and the airline vanished following this accident. However, the suspension definitely came much too late. Tragically, this accident reminds us that there is still much to do regarding safety. 58 lives that were lost simply by having companies that prioritize commercial interests over safety. Companies that have normalized deviations to the point of believing nothing will ever happen, until tragically it does. and aeronautical authorities that in many cases, due to a lack of inspection personnel, do not fulfill the true auditing role necessary for the system to identify these flaws before an event as sad as this occurs. Tell us, what do you think about this accident? Does it remind you of any in your region or a specific crash? What shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video and want to see more air stories, aviation news, technical information, aviation history and much more, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. It will help us a lot.